Okay, with all that I had in that bowl, all I could possibly get out with my rubber scraper was 273 grams. And that's just about what I have every day to make three, sometimes 4 loaves of bread, because that's the normal amount of bread that my family will eat every day. So when I send you the template of the ratio of starter to flour to water, you'll see that usually you use 200 grams of starter to make 2 loaves of bread. And then I think it's 400 grams of water and 650 grams of flour. I forget exactly. But every day my starter gram amount, see, it just went away, 273. We got to remember that. 273. Every day my starter amount is always just a little bit different. So it's kind of funny. I use ChatGPT to help me. I'm not great at math. So I use ChatGPT to help me figure out those ratios. So I kind of asked a roundabout question like, if my recipe originally called for 200 grams of starter, this has this many grams of water and this many grams of flour, how much flour and water would I use for 273 grams of starter instead of 200? And it'll figure it all out for me. So every single day I have a different amount of starter, and every day I open up that same exact chat with ChatGPT, and I'm like, what about 273 grams? What about 280? And I know my husband will like laugh at me because he's really good at math, and I'll just sometimes just ask him and he'll be like, blah, this is the answer. Anyway, I'm not good like that, so I use ChatGPT. And today, since I just now asked it, I'm going to need 548 grams of water and 891 grams of flour. So I'm going to get some water and be right back. Okay, I've got my 548 grams of water, filtered water that I just measured. I know I keep saying filtered it's probably really annoying, but the tap water will kill the starter, so it has to be filtered. I'm not trying to be fancy, it just will kill it. So anyways, you can see if my starter were very unhappy, if it were very hungry, it would not float like this. See, the air bubbles makes it float. It would just sit on the bottom in this, little blob. But this is relatively happy. This starter, it would have been much happier 2 hours ago had I not gone to the store, but life. Anyways, so I'm mixing it up before I add my flour and salt, just like I did with the starter over there. And this also came in the Amazon, whatever you call it, sourdough starter pack. When I first got that sourdough starter pack from my sister for Christmas, I had no idea what any of the tools were for. I was trying so hard to make starter, just, like anybody would with whatever they have. And so a lot of the things in the kit, I was like, I have no idea what this is for. But then, like, it's so funny, as time went by, I was like, oh yeah, this. Oh, I do have one of these. Oh yeah, this works better for this. So it's just funny. Okay, doesn't have to be perfect, but I do try to mix it up pretty well. So now I have my water, and I will measure out the flour so I can show you. Now, like I said, some people just dump their salt in there, and I bet you I could. But since I'm taking videos, I don't want to take any chances. I'll take chances when I'm not taking videos for you, and we'll see what happens. All right, hold on. All right, I've got my flour in there. You see that I have it kind of up in a mound, and this is so this is so I can mix my salt into my flour before I mix it into the sourdough. As I said 2 other times, some people don't do this. I will experiment with that later. So you can see that this was supposed to be 891 grams of flour, according to my ChatGPT ratio. But I didn't zero out the scale. I didn't do this before I started pouring the flour. So I had to be like, oh no, how much was in there? How much did I just pour in there? And I had to do some math to figure out how much I was supposed to put in there. So anyway, so now I have the right amount of water mixed into the starter and the right amount of flour. And I'm usually going off of the normal template. Usually I add 20 grams of salt per recipe, per batch, whatever. Since this is about 2, I'm going to add around 40 grams. I have had some loaves that were too salty, so I try not to go too crazy, but I know the salt, like I said, I am not great with knowing the science or chemistry behind sourdough, but I know that the salt isn't just for taste in sourdough. It's also just something about the structure, the strands. I don't know, but it tells me to add it, so I happily do because I like salt. So I really should be using a bigger spoon. I don't know why I'm using half a teaspoon here. Where are we at? 26. I'll go to about 40. Yeah. All right. Okay. Looks good to me. So at this point, usually I don't just throw it in there like that. Usually I try to put it right on top. But since I'm holding the phone and thinking about other things, I didn't do what I usually do. But anyway, I usually try to just mix this salt into the flour. And another reason I like mixing it into the flour, well, I guess that wouldn't matter. But anyway, I mix it into the flour because I'm babying the starter, which is probably not necessary. But if I were just to stir this up right now, there would be little pink pockets of salt in the bread, and you would get like salty bites. So if I'm not going to mix it straight into the starter water, then I'm going to do this anyway so that we don't get salty bites, little pink salty bites. Okay, let me wash my, I kind of need to use 2 hands, but that's okay. So this dough hook actually works really well for this. Works better than a whisk or a fork or something, but I do need to use 2 hands for this, so I'll probably have to turn off the video. It's, after a little bit, it gets a little harder to mix. Let me take it off of this. After a little bit, it does get harder to mix, and so I do like have to hold the bowl and scrape the sides to get it all mixed in. It does take a little bit to get all the flour mixed in. So I'll have to use 2 hands. All right, hold on. So here's the dough all mixed up. And you can see that it looks kind of scraggly, kind of scrappy, and it's actually pretty sticky. That's why some people will use their hands to mix it up. I don't like to do that because I get so much dough on my hands, and then I don't like having to I don't like it. I feel like it wastes a lot. So this is what it looks like when it's all mixed up. And this is it. This is it for the next 30 minutes. All I'm going to do now is cover this up and let it rest for 30 minutes. Now, I have heard, a friend of mine told me not to let this ferment and that ferment close together. She said anything fermenting needs to be 6 feet apart. I don't know how true that is because I have had things, fermenting like this right next to each other and everything was just fine. But if you would like to do that, I don't know. I've done both and it seems like both ways are just fine. I don't know how much I believe that. But anyway, that is what some people say. So I'm going to cover this up. And actually, I'll set this aside for tomorrow. And what I usually use is this. I usually, what's called stretch and fold with that. It's just a broken rubber scraper. And I just leave it right in there. I cover this up and leave it for 30 minutes. And that's it. Okay, we will be back.